Aftyn.
Yes.
Thank you for taking the time.
No, thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
I'm super excited y'all are here. This is why I'm kind of nervous. Okay.
So first of all, congratulations
Thank you.
on winning the primary. And this is really about people getting to know you who maybe haven't been introduced to your campaign yet. Also letting people local in Tennessee know how we can support you on December 2nd when that happens. But I just want to say congratulations first, because that's such a big win and your campaign has been absolutely killing it.
Thank you. Thank
so
you.
Just for people who haven't met you yet, what is your background? What are your experiences that make you, qualified for the role?
I love that question. So I grew up in East Tennessee, and I think one of the formidable experiences I had was taking a trip out to the coal mining fields of Tennessee. We had coal mining in Tennessee in high school, and seeing the corporate exploitation of our communities and the neglect and degradation from billionaires and corporate interests in our communities and environment. And that really impacted me in terms of how my politics materialized. But I went to school and became a social worker, and so I was in that took me to the United Nations in Switzerland.
Oh, that's amazing.
So I was there for 2016 during the apex of the refugee crisis. I was there during Brexit, and then obviously November 2016 happened. President Trump was elected the first time, and decided to move back to East Tennessee. And I remember taking my parents out to dinner and telling them that I wanted to get involved in Tennessee politics. And my mom started crying so hard she had to be escorted out of the restaurant.
Oh, no.
Because and I'm sure your parents, they sacrifice so much for you to have these experiences, and it was just, they looked at Tennessee politics as something that wasn't salvageable.
Yeah.
And so the job I got was as a community organizer with the Tennessee Justice Center. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they help people navigate the red tape of TennCare, our state Medicaid program. And I was out in the hollers talking to people about Trump's attacks on the Affordable Care Act and Medicaid. And in fact, I remember one incident. Do you know Germantown Pub?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
I live right there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I did. Well, I remember one time in 2017 during the John McCain thumbs down vote. Remember when they were trying to save the ACA?
Yeah.
I made them turn on C-SPAN at the bar. I was like, no, guys, this is history.
Like,
you
right now.
And they're like, the Titans are like, no. And I'm like, no. But it's important because my arc in organizing has always been to make healthcare more affordable for Tennesseans. And from there, I was hired by Indivisible, which I'm sure familiar with. I was one of their first tranche of hirees. I had Tennessee and Kentucky in those states, and I helped build power, especially in rural communities, helping people organize. And then the story I like to leave with as to how I decided to run for office, because it sounds like maybe one day I'll get to help you run for office. But in January of 2023, I wanted to be done with Tennessee politics. I had enough.
Yeah,
I was like, Mom, you know what? You're right.
You were right. Sorry, Mom, my bad.
She was like, yes. And I like to say that Tennessee politics are like Hotel California. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. And I think like you can. Yeah, you get it.
I get it.
So, but in April, the Tennessee 3 saga happened, and we saw this erosion. I mean, this just like rupture of our democracy in such a palpable way. And for those of us that live in Nashville, there's a group of organizers, professional organizers, that are called in to organize all the protests and rallies. And there was a moment where I realized like we need another progressive voice in the legislature, and that's when I decided to run. And so I've been in the Tennessee legislature for 2 years, fighting to end the sales tax on groceries. And then why I decided to run for Congress is, as you know, I think you're a millennial, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right.
Yes, ma'am.
Wear the badge. I don't know where the badge. Okay. But life has become unaffordable.
Yeah.
In this state.
And it has been.
And it has been for some time. And, I can't afford a house. I can't afford to start a family in Nashville. And that is the plight of a lot of people our age. And so for me, this is a campaign about making things more affordable for Tennesseans.
Which is so important, because I moved here from New York City. And so New York City, obviously very expensive. But when I came down here and I've watched rent increases while the wages don't match, because in New York, you make more money. So yes, it's more expensive, but the salaries are higher. Here, some of our pricing, especially for luxury buildings downtown, is getting comparable to major cities without that increase in salary.
Yeah.
And give me a sense of, you've been in the legislature for 2 years. Where is Tennessee at financially? Like, we just had the big ugly bill pass.
Yeah.
So TennCare, which most people don't realize is Medicaid.
Yes.
is going to get cut.
Yes.
We've passed the school voucher programs, which
Yes.
overwhelmingly were given to wealthy families. What is Tennessee's current financial situation right now?
Yeah, I mean, we've had 15 years of Republican supermajority leadership, and in that, our state budget has ballooned. It's doubled in size, and none of that is going to fixing our roads, feeding our kids, funding hospitals. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. But they've also privatized most of our government, and so the reason the DMV lines are long, you can't get an appointment, is because they privatized almost every facet of government to make government not work for the people. And so what's going to happen the next few years, compounded with the federal budget cuts, it's going to be brutal. We're going to face a decade of austerity, and out of crisis comes opportunity, which is when, as we were discussing earlier, there's going to be a moment in time when the pendulum is going to swing the other way because the Overton window has shifted so far to the right. And so that's the moment that, I think a lot of you all hopefully will be running for office and getting involved in state and local government.
Well, and I think we see this being replicated. So when we look nationally, there's been 2 other times where the Republicans controlled all 3 branches of government for an extended period of time, and one of them was the 1920s. These policies don't work.
Yeah.
They've never worked. Yeah. And the last time they controlled it for that long, for 12 years, with the exception of there was one 2-year period they controlled the House. It led us to the Great Depression. But that gave us Medicaid and Social Security.
And the New Deal.
And the New Deal.
Yeah, which I just got goosebumps because, people are, Monte, there's so many, I can't tell you, once a day, someone comes up to me, and I don't know if you have this experience, and they know who I am, and they come up, and they can't get words out, and they just start crying.
Yep.
Has that happened to you? And I just...
Happens in airports a lot.
Right? And I'm like, and I just hug them, and I'm like, I know. And, at the end of when they're finally muffled through their words, and they're upset, and they're like, how did you keep going, right? And for me, the moment of hope is when we are going to see a New Deal 2.0. There is going to be massive transformative change in this country in the next 20 years, and we'll be the elder millennials.
I'll be like with my cane.
Mentoring the Gen Zs.
I remember back in my day.
Vibing through the New Deal 2.0. But so my goal, especially when we'll talk about the campaign, but in my organizing career, has always been to invest in young people and others who want to get involved in politics, because they have to have the skills to be able to organize through what is happening and what is to come.
And I think that is such a key point I want to just hang on to for just a second. For those of you that the world is burning and everything's terrifying and things are so far right and they're crumbling, but they're crumbling, which means they're on their way out. They are on their way out. We don't know how long that'll be, but it is on its way out. And you and other leaders like you are helping that shift come faster. So thank you for that. And even here, so we're in front of some of your campaign posters: feed kids, fix roads, fund hospitals. What does that look like practically? What are you fighting for Tennessee?
Yeah. So the campaign slogan comes from personal experience, feeding kids. I don't know if you covered this, but our governor in Tennessee, Governor Lee, used a loophole in federal law to refuse millions of dollars to feed kids across 95 counties. So in Congress, I'll commit to closing that loophole so we can actually feed kids,
why would you not? You don't have an excuse you can give me. You're like, not those kids.
Oh my gosh.
So I really don't care about the kids once they're here.
Yeah. That's your thing.
That's
a whole other thing. So then fixing roads. So last year, we have a $73 billion backlog in infrastructure, almost $40 billion in unpaved roads. Our roads are crumbling because, as I said, the budget has ballooned. None of that is going to fixing potholes. And so fixing roads and making sure that we're bringing as much infrastructure dollars down as possible. And then funding hospitals. So Medicaid, and I love that. So Medicaid is my heart space, right? Anytime, it is the lifeline for nursing homes, rural communities. And what people don't understand is it is hard to disentangle from local budgets, right? Because it's just so much. And so when you are cutting Medicaid, it is a cut to hospitals, to nursing homes, to schools, to special education. I mean, it crosses.
So much.
Yes. So restoring the Medicaid funding that was cut in the Big Ugly Bill.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, I will say even about the fixing roads. So I moved here at the end of 2020, and I had never had a flat tire in my life. I've had 3 since living here because of the potholes.
Yeah.
And it's just, I was like, what is going on with the roads here?
Yeah.
And with it, you've mentioned that while you've been in the state legislature, that you've been pushing to end tax on groceries.
Yeah.
Is that something that you'd want to pursue federally?
Yeah, and this is a really important legislative goal. A grocery tax is considered one of the most regressive taxes in the country, okay? Tennessee's economy is already really regressive. 60% of our budget comes from sales tax. And I'm trying to explain this, but like the lowest income earners pay a higher percentage of their wages on sales tax than the wealthy. So getting rid of the grocery tax would be a great equalizer. Tennessee's also facing the highest inflationary costs of groceries in the country. And Senator Charlene Oliver and I have run this bill each year I've been in the legislature to end the grocery tax and pay for it by closing corporate tax loopholes. And if you ask the
Imagine that.
And if you ask the Republican leadership, they're like, what loopholes? Well, funny you should ask, Monte. We sent a letter to the Department of Revenue asking how many profitable companies aren't paying taxes in Tennessee. 20% of companies that reported over $1 billion of federal taxable income are paying nothing. Nothing. So if we close those loopholes, we would be able to end the grocery tax for working Tennesseans. I know.
Like,
the girl was too stunned to speak. I know.
I actually am speechless because that, like, first of all, you're not a nonprofit. Second of all, that's a large amount of money. Like, that's so much money to not be paying any taxes on. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm stunned by that. I mean, I knew the number would be high.
I'll get you the report.
Right?
Tennessee
I need to see the
corporate
report.
loophole report. Yeah.
That is just, but it's also, again, it's kind of on brand as what we've seen with conservative policies of like, this idea in the illusion of trickle-down economics, which has never worked.
Yeah.
It's never worked. It's never happened.
No.
Giving corporations breaks and like bailing them out while you sacrifice poor and middle-class families has never worked.
And it's like, we're a low-tax state for who? The biggest multinational companies in this world.
Do you have like a specific example of that, of like some of the companies that are?
Well, last year, we had something called the franchise tax. Sorry, I'm like a tax
I love
nerd.
it.
Okay,
I love it.
I know.
I'm
like, let's go. I come from a family of accountants, so it's like it's in my blood. But we had something called the franchise tax, which was how companies pay taxes. And I was trying to figure out last year, like, why were they trying to cut this tax, right? Well, it turns out it's the most progressive corporate tax we have. So they decided to revise it, and they handed over $1 billion, now it'll be $2 billion by the time the refunds are over, of your tax dollars to the biggest multinational companies not based in Tennessee. FedEx, and this is where companies are like, oh, we don't own all these subsidiaries. They don't belong to us. We're not a mothership. Yes, you are, because FedEx applied 13 times to receive that refund, that franchise tax refund. And we have no idea how much money they got. I mean, it is corporate welfare. It's corporate welfare. It's grifting.
Yeah.
And these are the most profitable companies grifting your tax dollars off of a government that's supposed to work for people. It's insane.
Again, and it's the gaslighting rhetoric of, welfare or tax cuts for you are you stealing money or grifting, or if we feed all school children, you're stealing someone's tax dollars, while companies are getting government subsidies, huge tax breaks. And I was like, no, you're telling us not to do what you do because you would lose your advantages.
Yes. I want to make a shirt for, and maybe I could do it for the federal government when I'm in Congress. No. But I went to the Tennessee legislature and all I got was gaslit.
Accurate. That's accurate.
Yeah.
So I do have a question kind of related to what's going on right now in the Supreme Court. So they're hearing the case of Louisiana versus Calais that could essentially gut the Voting Rights Act, which is extremely intimidating. And in Tennessee, we've really seen a lot of disenfranchisement of especially the Black community, but also immigrants, Latina community. So do you have any plans as far as voting rights, democracy, reforms that we can have on a federal level to protect people?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously would sign on to the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, right? I think we need independent redistricting commissions that are, either, I don't know what it would look like at the national level, but we desperately need one in Tennessee. As you know, this congressional district that I'm running in is a byproduct of the most MAGA gerrymandering in the country. I know everyone says that.
How many pieces in Nashville?
Three ways. And they did that to dilute Black and brown power.
Yes.
Because
Nashville is a progressive hub.
Yes, and the highest voting turnout population is North Nashville, where a lot of Black voters live, and so they did that. And here's I think the theory of this race, which is going to be very interesting come December. But it was an overreach, and I know that's the word du jour. But they got greedy. And they took a lot of Nashville and Williamson County and Montgomery, and we'll talk about what the district looks like, and they got greedy and they took some highest turnout places, including Montgomery County, which is our purple county, and that is a bellwether for elections in years to come. And so I'm very interested in the outcome of this race to see if we're able to kind of inoculate against the gerrymandering we're facing.
And what's been the most challenging parts of your campaign? What's been really tough to face? I mean, outside of, we're in the Bible Belt.
Yeah.
We're in we have a governor who's very, very much pledged allegiance to the Trump administration and those decisions. What's been the most challenging thing?
Yeah, I think, we just wrapped up a Democratic primary where I was the only candidate that wasn't a corporate lobbyist nor backed by corporate interest and had taken corporate PAC money. And that has been my, as an organizer, I've always tried to push democracy in the Democratic Party to be better and to restore it. And to be less corporate aligned. And so from my state house race to this race, I've said I've never take money from corporate PACs. And we, raised the third most of money, but we ended up beating someone who spent $1 million, and it was corporate interest versus not. And obviously I came through.
And I think we're seeing a lot of grassroots show up across the country.
Oh yes. And
because people are tired of it.
And it's bipartisan. And I just want to flag in the Republican primary, which, included an insurrectionist. But one of those candidates who supported public schools and was anti-voucher, lots of special interest money was coming after him, almost $2 million. And on the campaign trail, he said, and I would vote, and I know you're going to talk about this, but to ban stock trading from congressional members and to end Citizens United. And that's
incredible.
And that's the unifying arc right now.
Because people are tired of it, and it's so transparent now. Like we can see how Elon is the biggest welfare queen in the country. We can see it now.
I would love to see you and him get into. Oh my God, my money's on you. My money's on you. I'm going to Vegas. I'm betting whatever.
I bet I could make him short circuit. But it's so transparent now, and I do think that everyone across the aisle is saying, I'm so tired of this all being bought to the highest bidder. And we're seeing, Congress members go in and they become multi-millionaires off trading that they shouldn't be qualified to do. And we've seen insider trading and all of these things. So, and when we're talking about kind of bipartisan moving forward, major Republican state, Tennessee.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone who's a Republican who's never voted for a Democrat, who is unsure that you stand for them? What does that look like?
Yeah, I'm a candidate. You have two options in December, which you have a candidate who cannot be bought nor sold, right? Yeah. Or a candidate who is bankrolled by special interest, corporate PACs, and is a puppet to a cadre of puppet masters, including President Trump and Governor Lee, and billionaires, Jeff Bezos. So it is a stark contrast. I think this, the coalition that we need to win in December is a coalition of the disenchanted. It's a coalition of the pissed off. It's a coalition of, if you think things are going great, I am not your candidate. I am not your candidate. Let's be serious, right? That is the coalition we need to bring. And I think I'm hoping that, and I've been able to kind of not necessarily disengage from the party brand, but to highlight the best parts of the Democratic Party and how we want it to be better, right? Yep. And use the party in this race to talk about the issues of affordability and really bring it home and localize the issues.
Because I think that is, for everyone, we want to be able to afford groceries. People want to be able to buy a house. They want to be able to know that their kids can go to college if they want to. And for a lot of people, progressively more and more, because I look at my nieces and nephews who are younger than me, both Gen Z and Gen Alpha, and I'm like, I don't know if they'll be able to go to school.
Yeah.
Because it's just not financially affordable. So we've got this election, and it's coming up December 2nd. How do we help you get to Washington?
Yeah, so just some context about the race, because it's as I was telling you, I've been very jaded about Tennessee politics. Hotel California.
Yes, it's here I am again. Here I go again on my own. We're going to do an interview, and it's every question and answer is only classic rock lyrics. See if we can do it. I think we could do it.
I think we can do it. So, Representative Mark Green cashed out. Mm-hmm. He is living his best life in Guyana.
Yeah.
With someone who, I'm not even going to get into it.
You guys can just look up Mark Green.
Just Google him.
Why we're having a special election and why Mark Green's not in Congress anymore. You Google that.
Do your own research. He leaves, and this special election, the catalyst is his resignation. It is the only Republican to Democrat flippable district in the entire country this fall. And it's important for a few reasons. Nationally, it's important because if we do well and or flip it in December, Republicans in Washington will start pulling papers to retire because it's an R+18 district, which for your listeners means it's very Republican, right?
Yes.
But we've been seeing Democrats move these districts 16, 18 points to the left. And special elections allow us to inoculate against the gerrymandering because it allows us to mobilize the constituency that we would actually need to win. So it's important because it's a bellwether for next year.
Yes.
It's important for anyone who wants revenge over this big ugly bill being passed, right? So my pitch nationally is like, if you are frustrated, if you are upset, if you want revenge on what's going on, this is the vehicle for you to engage with, to volunteer, to donate to. For Tennessee, it's important because, and just some political history. In 2018, we had a really competitive Senate race with now our Senator. Do you want to say her name?
No.
Okay. Our now senator who ran against Phil Bredesen. And after that race, when we didn't win, all national investment was pulled out of the state of Tennessee because we weren't able to win big elections like that. We're not a battleground state, right?
Yeah.
So this race is going to unlock the potential for Tennessee to be on the map again, right? And to receive that investment and attention that we need to actually move the needle in this state.
Well, because I think people forget that even as recent as 2012, Tennessee was purple. It was
Right.
much more purple.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And we just haven't had the investment to compete electorally, right? And we're living under really oppressive circumstances, right? In terms of anti-democratic institutions and reforms. But so this race is really important. It's an important bellwether. And shall we talk about the Epstein Files?
Oh, I would love to.
Are we going to get shadow banned? Which
I
I
would-
learned was a whole thing.
I would love to talk about the Epstein Files.
Okay.
Please continue.
Okay.
Please continue.
So right now, Speaker Mike Johnson, I don't know if you've covered this.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So there was an article published by Sarah Grace Taylor in the National Banner. When she was probing around, there was some kind of nefarious activity at the state level with state election officials. Turns out they were trying to certify the results quicker than normal. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's to cover something up.
They think Matt Van Epstein, but
Yeah.
my Republican opponent, is going to win and therefore would cancel out Representative Grijalva's vote for the Epstein Files.
So that. So let me translate that. So
thickens.
if you've been following the national news, in the House, they have the necessary Democratic votes now, 218, to bring the Epstein Files to a vote on the floor. And Mike Johnson has refused to certify the new elected Democrat. So what she's saying is they're thinking that this special election is going to give them back that Republican vote
Yes.
to offset it so they no longer have to vote on the Epstein
Yes.
Files. How much of our government is in the Epstein Files? Like, I want to know. I know obviously some people have made it pretty clear they're on it, but I want to know how many people are on it.
Well, and my question for you is, and maybe from your listeners, because you have a wide audience, like, are people saying that this is just tired? Like, or why are we kind of hounding this issue? And for me, I've always been a government watchdog. My tenets in politics have always centered around accountability and transparency, and I've always been a victim's rights supporter, a survivor supporter, an ally.
Yeah.
So this touches all three of my kind of love point. Like, I'm curious, like, why.
So overall, what I see, and I think that people are becoming so aware of like all of the distractions, all of the deflections are to cover from this. And more more people are like, okay, they are clearly on it and their friends and their associates are on it. And that's why they're going through so much to hide it. The only people I see saying, oh, this is tired, what are you doing? Or, dear old Ted saying, let's not pick on pedophiles. Like I'm going to actually, quite frankly. But the only people I see, oh, this is tired, this is people that are just very, very, very far to the right in their allegiances. But anyone who's in the mid-ground and left is I think very aware that this is a cover-up, that it's an intentional cover-up, that it's because
I just don't want to be in an echo chamber where it's like, oh, this is the thing, and it's like, it's really not.
Oh, it's a big part of the thing.
Okay,
it's a big part of the thing. Like
okay.
so much, I think people are understanding that so much of the machine is moving towards trying to protect this list. And I'm truly hoping, and I'm so appreciative of what Thomas Massey is doing, and like so much respect.
I don't hold it down for him for a lot of things, but I'm like, he is dogged, and that's like, you can't. And people hate. spare me this one anecdote, but sometimes I go on conservative talk show from radio in Tennessee. And Matt Murphy, who's one of the talk show hosts, once told me, he's like, you're a lot like Trump.
Yeah.
I was like, say more.
Like, I'm curious about this.
I'm very interested. And he said, you're authentic. He goes, what you get in the committee room in the state legislature is who you get on the campaign trail, is who you're going to get in Congress. Like, you do not equivocate. And that's why people hate politics and politicians, is because you say one thing and you do another.
Yep.
And it's like, even though I have a lot of issues I care about, and I may have to be quiet about them right now because I have to win this race and people are struggling and it has to be about affordability, is like, I don't equivocate.
Yeah.
And I think and that's why I respect Massey, is because he, on this issue, is not equivocating.
And it's so important. Like, it's like, if we can't hold human child traffickers to a standard,
What are we doing here?
Then we absolutely don't get to have a conversation about any kind of moral high ground, for sure. Absolutely not. You can't convince me of that. And so as we move to December, and especially for my followers who are here in Tennessee, how do we help you get to Washington specifically? How do we support your campaign?
Yeah.
Where can we find you? What are the most meaningful ways of support?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously the Republicans have more money than God, right? I don't know how much the God bank account has, but we'll find out.
Jesus is like, leave me out of this.
That's funny. You probably have a future in like Christian stand-up.
Yeah.
Like deconstruction stand-up. I think you'd be really good. Anyways, okay, that's
plans.
a side project. Side project for another day. So donating would be really helpful if you even $5-10 a month, being a committed reoccurring donor, because I'm gonna have to run again next year. It's a special election, so that would be incredibly helpful. And I think this is something I'd just like to surface about Tennessee in particular. I've knocked thousands of doors across this country in elections. I have been involved in a lot of elections in this country, and there's so much apathy here. And I think also it's important because, there are some, I think maybe not your audience necessarily, but there's some people who maybe vote Democrat, but they have never, and they watch a lot of MSNBC, right? But they've never showed up to a protest. They've never showed up to their county party. They have never called a voter. And the only way we're going to change things in this state is if you are having conversations with actual people.
Yep. You have to be involved.
You have to have face-to-face contact, whether that's phone calls or door knocking. So starting this Sunday, we are launching a full canvassing phone banking operation from Sunday until December 2nd. You will have ways to canvass and phone bank remote, especially if you're differently abled. We will have opportunities for you, but we have to, I know it's scary, right? Like lots of things have happened to me knocking doors out in rural Tennessee, right? But this polarization is being exacerbated because we're not talking to each other, right? And something that I've committed to, especially, when we flip this, or if we flip this, is, showing up at Republican county party meetings, right? Because it's like, we're just aiding and abetting this, the radicalization, the polarization, and it's not helping us.
Yeah,
right?
At its core, it's not left versus right, it's top versus bottom.
Yes.
Like, we have a 1%
Yes.
problem, and it's the people at the top that are getting
Yes, and
all
I know
the
it's going to be
tax breaks.
uncomfortable, and I'm not saying sacrifice or compromise your values, right?
Yeah.
Or you and I would never do that. But in this moment, we have to build the coalition we need to reduce the harm as to what's happening.
Yep.
Build the coalition we need, right? Or broaden the coalition we need to defeat the chaos, and then build the infrastructure we need to move forward, right? And so the coalition has to be one of, there's going to be a lot of entry points. People are going to be waking up to the fact that they have been scammed by an economic agenda that has not delivered for them.
Yeah.
And so
And
once
it's
again,
clear.
and it's clear, right? And I'm running as a Democrat, but I don't take corporate money. I don't believe in foreign interference in our elections. I am someone who believe government should work for the people. And if you believe those things, then I am your candidate.
That's amazing. Aftyn, thank you so much for your work.
I've enjoyed this. Should we do
Thank
this
you so
every
much.
week?
We're going to do it every week from now on.
Okay.
Thank you so much for what you're doing.
Yeah.
And where can everyone find you to support you on socials, even if they're not in Tennessee?
Yeah, on Instagram, it's I know my name is so chaotic, and like at the polling places, it was so funny because people are like, "How do you say your name, NAFTA?" I'm like, no.
It's like, that's not even close.
Yeah, no, so close, but so far. So it's Aftyn, which actually comes from a poem, so if people are asking. And then my last name is Behn, so the Aftyn for Congress.com, Aftyn Behn for TN on most socials. I'm not as great as you I'm still having to learn the content, but I really do like demystifying policy, and I do this.
And it helps people.
Yeah,
so
and I
much.
know. Yeah, and you do a great job. I have a lot to learn from you. But I do record videos in my Jeep Wrangler and call it Wranglin' Time. And I know you sing, and I have a theme song that I use from Clint Black's Killin' Time, and I repurposed it for Wranglin' Time. Yeah. So, anyways, if you go on my socials, you'll see Wranglin' Time, and I think I owe people a song. So I will dedicate the next Wranglin' Time song to you.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. I am so excited to see you win on December 2nd.
You'll be there.
I will be
there. Okay,
I will
great,
be here.
great,
I'll
great.
be there. I'll be around. And we'll keep posted on your campaign. We're here to support you. Thank you for what you're doing for Tennessee.
Thanks so much. That was great. Oh